what does that mean? What is Images and Voices of Hope? Well, first thing that it means is, I guess Facebook sponsored ads work, because I saw the ad to apply for the fellowship, and I went ahead and did it, and ended up getting it. What is Images and Voices of Hope? Well, after spending the summer with them, from what I've gathered, it is a bunch of rich hippies who want to teach journalists their term that they've coined called restorative journalism. So what is restorative journalism? Well, restorative journalism is what they refer to as second act stories. Stories that are behind the headlines. What happens after events take place. Most modern media talks about numbers and stabbings, and we all know that phrase, if it bleeds, it leads, right? And so when you think about Atlantic City and you open up a newspaper, you see things about how numbers are down at the casino, or someone was stabbed or shot, or the opioid epidemic. But what restorative journalism is goes in behind that and tells second act stories. Second act stories are what my coach referred to restorative journalism as. My Pulitzer Prize-winning coach, I'll let you know, by the way. Jackie Bonanuski won a Pulitzer in the 1980s for a piece called AIDS in the Heartland. It's a long story form. So for the millennials, what long story journalism is it's a sort of 2 or 3 part series printed on paper. I don't know if you know what paper is, you can go ahead and Google that. And these stories include everything except that little hashtag that says 2-minute read. Okay, so that's what she used to do. And she was my coach, and she was also the coach of another 2019 fellow, Linda Cohen. Do you guys know Linda Cohen from Breaking AC? Linda, we have to work on your PR a little bit. Find Linda, because what she's working on, we're working independently. She is actually covering the Dirty Block Gang, and she's been visiting prisons. She's been sending calling cards to prisoners so they can call her. She's been hanging out at courthouses and talking to lawyers and bereaved mothers. And I'm all like, let's put on a show. And we got the same stipend, and it's very unfair. So if you can follow Linda Cohen at Breaking AC, that would be fantastic. Okay, so moving on, just a little bit more about my coach. It was a little intimidating when I went to these trainings because these people are all journalists, and all real journalists. The other fellows work for AP National. They've done TED Talks. They're on NPR radio. But as I said at the beginning, they're hippies. So there were 2 black sheep. And I was given this fellowship under the guise of storytelling. And then there was a poet who also wrote poems. And everyone else is working on big projects. And when I got there, it was very intimidating. And where did I get to? I got to go to the very mysterious and sort of Scientology X-File-ish Fetzer Institute in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Has anybody heard of that? Oh, okay. Yeah, well, Linda heard of it because she went there with me, right. So it was very X-Files, and we had these little key cards, and there was these little Egyptian eyes carved into the buildings, and that's how we keyed in, and it was sort of very mysterious, and I thought, wow, who does this? This has got to be like some kind of like crazy yogi that lives up on a mountain, like, who's paying for all this? No, it's John Fetzer who owned the Detroit Tigers, so that was kind of weird to put together as well. So there was a lot going on there, and that's where I was first training on this restorative journalism. But what my coaches told me, in fact, another coach named Barry, who was teaching another team, there were teams, 4 teams, and how they were picked were geographical areas, and 4 geographical areas that Ivo had determined as downtrodden. So there was Flint, Michigan, we know what's going on there. There were the mean streets of Chicago, and then there was New Orleans. And then, congratulations, Atlantic City, we made it. We made it. We made it. So one of the other team coaches, Barry, told me, Michelle, you're not a journalist, you need to know you can't just run up and stick microphones in people's faces. Don't underestimate the power of just hanging out. Just hanging out. So that's what I did all summer. I just hung out with people. I went to my art commission meetings, I went to city meetings, I went to charity events, and I hung out at the epicenter of hanging out in Atlantic City, the Leadership Studio on Tennessee Avenue. Is anyone familiar with that? Yes. Yogis there, yes, and I went to different things there, and so the premise of my project is really just a simple one. And actually, Joyce Hagan, the executive director of the Atlantic City Arts Foundation, is you should have got to sit closer. You do really a lot of work. That's a shame. So Joyce is here. We appreciate it. And Joyce helped me come up because, I wanted to be journalistic, and I was thinking about, doing some kind of hard-hitting thing too. And Joyce said if they wanted a journalist to have your spot, they would have given it to a journalist and just do your process. Okay? So that's what I did, and I hung out, and my premise then turned to really simply, the people of Atlantic City don't have a face. In fact, one of the people that I interviewed that you'll see tonight actually said to me, it's kind of a myth that people live in Atlantic City. People don't think about it. And how do I know this? Well, I know this because I went to a little Catholic high school in Bedford Heights, Ohio, and every time one of the people that I graduated with gets a timeshare or something, I always get a Facebook message that says, is it safe to leave the grounds of Caesar's Palace? And I'm like, what? Of course, I live here. So, and I have to explain that to them. So how did I pick the 11 people? Well, I'm going to go back in time a little bit again. Does anyone remember the Steve Hartman, Everybody Has a Story bit on CBS? Do you guys remember that? A couple people do, right? What he did was he took a dart and he threw it over his shoulder, okay? And then it hit a map, okay? And wherever that dart hit, that's where he and his crew went, okay? And then when he got to that city, not only did he still not find, the mayor or the, cheerleader or the whatever, he just went to a phone book. Now again, for the millennials, a phone book is, you can just go ahead and Google that, but he took the phone book and he picked someone, and whoever he landed on, that's the story he told. And they always first said, I didn't do anything special, I don't have anything to blah, 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 and it always turned into this beautiful story. So I just took Barry's advice and just hung out this summer and just let myself wander, bank around like a pinball in a pinball machine. And what I found out about unsung heroes is they like to stay unsung. So what I would do is interview someone and they would say, who you should talk to is him. And then I would go to him and go, well, that's okay, but who you should talk to is her. And I kind of got banked around till I found these 11 random people. But it's sort of proving my premise that everybody in Atlantic City has a story. So I am going to go ahead and tell you 11 of them. And why is it called Yo 11, the show? Well, if you're not a gambler, you might not know, but there's some symbolism there. If you play roulette, not roulette, if you play craps, if you want to bet on 11, you say Yo first. Yo 11. You don't just say 11. Why is that? Because you don't want the croupier to be confused with the number 7. So when you want to bet on 7, you say 7. When you want to bet on 11, you say Yo 11. And people like to say yo a lot because it makes them sound cool. So even now at the poker table, people go yo, and that means they're betting 11. But this is the symbolism of that. A lot of times Atlantic City's people and citizens can get confused with its commerce and the faces of those casinos. So this summer I stayed out of the casino and I went and found 11 people, and I'm going to tell you a story about all of them right now. She always stopped and just gave a little, like that. We were people when we were up on the boardwalk. Now all these young people, what they look like up on the boardwalk? Yeah. Okay, amen. All right, here we go. My first job was at Spencer Gibbs. Oh, Spencer Gibbs, I know where that is in Egg Harbor Township. No, Spencer Gibbs was right on Atlantic Avenue. The trolleys used to run up and down. First thing you need to know, firemen are like Sarah Lee. Nobody does it like a fireman. I just loved coming down here to visit my grandmother. You could come down on this block, you never even had to leave. I wanted to create a space like we had at Stockton, all the theater queers. We all used to just hang out at the ET lobby. I just wanted that so bad. Well, that's totally cool. You found, I guess, your calling early. That's good, right? Oh yeah, I found it way early. Miss Audrey, do you have any kind of those girdle things? Like the spank kind of thing. I got to go to something at 7. Yeah, I want to go down this round. I might not have none. If you want to look over there, you might be able to find something. Thanks, Miss Audrey. And off she would go. That's the better part of being on the other side of 62. You lose all your vanity. I was born in Atlantic City in 1956. We moved to Margate. If you had money, you didn't have money. Nobody cared. Firemen lived next to doctors. It was great. Well, they blew a gasket. First of all, I'm a priest. I guess I'm not supposed to be talking about that, but I know things. It's like just because I'm a priest, not like I don't know the streets or something. F-U-C-K. Yeah, faith. I hope one day you find faith. You will. I hope you can find unity with your fellow community. Charity. I hope one day you can find charity in your heart. And kindness. I wish everybody you come in contact with shows you some kindness. So you know what, buddy? Fuck me, and fuck you. Raising children in Atlantic City has been so incredible on so many levels. Atlantic City is like a microcosm of the world. Really, found this Taekwondo studio that's going by where Stockton is now. It's Rockland Sun. Hey, what was the name of that Taekwondo place? Make me laugh, and you make me laugh. You take me out of the moment. When you make me laugh. That's what I try to do when I'm singing. Maybe somebody come to hear me sing, and their heart, get them out of that moment. Name a place, name a cop car. I've been in the back of it. All of a sudden, here I am. I'm sitting in the front seat. You tell me that ain't God. That ain't my work. That's God's work. Food Network had just come on. Bobby Flay had just become an Iron Chef. I like cuisine. And he'd take me back there to the restaurants to talk to the chefs, and he'd make me like ask him questions and stuff. Like, how hard is it for you to see your family? Because you have this job, and it's extinct in this holidays. My father was trying to deter me from becoming a food and beverage person, but I'm 10 years old, so I'm like, work, so much fun. You're here. And I walked in all tired, and I set my mat down and said, be impeccable with your word. And they put you in these positions. There's this one like pigeon, and you're all tangled up like this, and then you're all like this with your ass up in the air, and someone else is touching your feet, okay? And you all tangled up like this, and it really hurts, and you do a pigeon, and it hurts, and you can't breathe. And do you know what the skinny bitch up there teaching the class tells you when you are like this? That skinny bitch says smile. No, you can have it, I said to the universe, I said, get back in the house, Mike, get something that can help, with this, I don't know, I thought the plan of being able to beat all this with yoga, was gonna work, but now that I'm doing with eating, I'm seeing like this plan really isn't gonna work out.
You were so awesome, you were so gifted and talented. I kept thinking this should be on Broadway. We should be paying for this. You're brilliant. You're going to be famous.
Hey Michelle, awesome. So good to be on to support you.
Girl, amazing show. Funny as hell. I loved it.
You have to do every person you ever met every single day. As realized by Michelle, I want to see everybody I ever met every day. Sensational, brilliant. I laughed, I cried, I really can't believe how great that was.
Oh my God, Michelle, you were incredible. You had me crying, laughing, and you had me crying tears. It was an incredible show.
It was great, Michelle. Awesome show. Awesome job.
Michelle, you were awesome. I'm jealous because you're done the project now, but you did a great job. And I told you had to just you don't have to be a journalist. You told the story of Atlantic City better than anybody could.
Incredible. Thank you, Michelle, so much for helping us finish out our season at Dante Hall Theater. I'm so glad I had you on my stage, baby.